Nice to see everyone here today. This is kind of weird though. Normally we'd just be at the kitchen table. So this is a little different for us, but I'm glad a lot of you are here. Before we get started, it's Jason's birthday today. Happy birthday, Jason.
Happy birthday.
And I'd also like to welcome back someone sitting at the back there, Chantal. She strayed away for a while, but then she came right back. And so, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. I'm just going to set my timer here so I don't go on too long. And
you mean I don't go on too long?
Okay. And is your mic on? See the green light?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, great. You got a lot of you know Kyra already, and I'm going to just jump right in. Kyra, tell us all. This is funny. Tell us about.
I think you're more nervous than I am.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet?
She was a receptionist at a real estate office I worked to while she was going to university.
Do we really have to go there?
So I was that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Every office has one.
Yeah, and I remember because it was Kyra and I were dating, and another agent that Chantal would know worked in the same office, and we bumped into each other at the Fox and Fiddle, but he was there with another receptionist that was there, and I was there with Kyra, and we're like, oh, okay. So that's yeah, and so I remember giving a lecture to one of our agents, I don't know, 15 years ago, because he was doing the same thing, and I thought to myself, I can't believe I'm saying this because I did the exact same thing. So
it was different back then.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, it was different. Yeah. Anyway, Kyra, can you tell everyone about how you got interested in health, holistic nutrition, all that space?
Sure. So 9 years ago, well, it was actually more than that, 10, maybe let's call it 12 years ago, I was in the corporate world. Everything was going fine, dandy. I got fired, just like that, boom, out, you're done. And that was like 6 years, I was like 6.5 years at Canada Post. I was doing an account executive position. I managed one of the largest companies that the Canada Post serviced, $100 million, something like that, like huge bucks, and I lost my job. And then I went home, and it was just coincidental that day that I got home and power was out, and Alex comes in and says, what's going on? And I said, I got fired. And he's like, and the power went out that soon?
True story.
Yeah. So then I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity to take a look at my life and figure out, what makes me happy, what I think about often, what I want to do in the next phase of my career. I could have, gone out and got another sales job, but I think in my core I wasn't feeling it anymore, and I knew that I needed to do something else. So I noodled on it for a few years, and I ended up realizing that I'm really interested. I've always been interested in health and nutrition. So I went to a school called the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, where I got a certification my certification is nutritional practitioner. So I'm a certified nutritional practitioner. And, I had an inkling back then, 9 years ago, that, what we eat and what we drink and what we breathe and the environment and, how we socialize and all that really played a big role in our overall health. And I never looked back after that. I finished the certificate, and here we are, forward fast to today. I have a small business called Nutrition Dispensary. I do everything from selling supplements. I probably have like 500 supplements on my website. I do supplement consultations, nutrition consultations. I teach cooking classes. I teach gut health and fermentation classes where we actually get our hands dirty and we're making sauerkrauts and kimchis and stuff like that. That's good for gut health. And I do education opportunities like this. So I'm super happy to be here today to talk to you guys and spend the next hour with you and sort of unpack this crazy world of holistic nutrition and make it really practical and easy for you guys to walk away with actionable tips and tools that you can do today to make your health better.
Wow.
That's a lot, eh?
Cool.
I'd like to talk.
No notes either. That's really good.
I do have notes. I do
okay.
have notes, yeah.
That's okay. So let's get down to it. How does what we eat and what we consume affect our health?
Yeah. So what we eat can affect us both positively and negatively. And looking back to, like Socrates was telling us in 400 BC, let food be thy medicine, right? And meaning food and what we eat has the ability to cure and to prevent disease. So this is not a new thing that we're going to be talking about. I felt it was really interesting to come and talk to you guys as realtors, because real estate's crazy, in my opinion. Like, I've lived this vicariously through Alex for the last 30 years. And I appreciate the stress that you guys are under. I appreciate that you're dealing with someone's largest asset and the stress and the commitment that's involved in dealing with that. And I want to educate, empower, and motivate you guys to make positive, healthy changes that's going to be impactful for your life.
So when it comes to food and stuff, is it just what we consume, or is there more to it?
There's definitely more to it, and it's what we eat. It's not just what we eat, but it's how we prepare it. The utensils we're using, or the pots and pans, for example. It's the oils that we're cooking with. There's so much to unpack. It's certainly not. Excuse me. It's certainly not just what we're eating.
So what do you mean by the pots and pans and things like that? Can you...
Well, so I don't think we should get into that today, because when I went to school and we learned about holistic nutrition, it wasn't just, okay, you just eat these foods and then you're good. It's the environment, it's the chemicals and toxicity and stuff like that. So that's going to be a whole other session. Let's focus, I guess today we'll just focus on the food part of it.
Okay, so not using the word diet out of context, what does the ideal diet look like to you?
So let's just talk about diet first. So I hate that word diet. Nobody wants to be on a diet. It has negative connotations of deprivation and there's 1,000 million diets out there, right? Whole 30, paleo, carnivore, you name it, Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig's, and everyone can name 50,000 different diets out there. And what's the problem with all these diets? They don't work, right? They don't work because they're not sustainable. You can't, I'm following this guy right now, and more for shits and giggles than for anything else, but his name is Eddie Abu, and he's on a carnivore diet, and he just eats meat and eggs, and he rants about, and some of it, I get some of it. He'll say things like, he'll go into the grocery store and he'll be, looking at the bag of chips or whatever, or the processed food that's in there, and he's ranting, and he's like, people, wake the fuck up. That's what he says, and it's shocking to hear that, right? But he's got a point. Like we look at the grocery store, look at the shelves in the grocery store. We need to wake up, and we need to, make better choices, and those aren't good choices.
It's funny. It makes me think. Kyra's just noticed recently that so many things have sugar in them. So you go to make a virgin Caesar, let's say, or a regular Caesar, and you look at the mix, and it's packed with MSG, sugar, this and that. So next thing you know, we've got clam juice in the fridge, we've got low sodium tomato juice, and you make your own mix that doesn't have all those things in it. So, like, you practice what you preach. I sometimes do.
I mean, let's be honest. We're all human beings here. You know, someone commented the last time I think it was at your kickoff, and they said, oh, we can't eat around Kyra because we're not eating properly. Well, Kyra's a human being too. Like, you know, what are my go-tos that are bad? I like wine and I like chips. And I'm not here to tell you that I'm perfect. I'm here because I did a course and I spent 2 years learning about nutrition, and I hope that I can impart some good information for you guys. Like, you know, we're not perfect, and you know, I will go to McDonald's and grab a breakfast sandwich, but do I do that every day? No. But it's, you know, it's the consistent small steps that you do every day that make the biggest differences, right? I digress.
I know. So I'm not sure where do you want to go next?
Well, where do I want to go next? Let's talk about what the ideal diet looks like. Because you know, we've talked about the Jenny Craigs and stuff like that, and the key to any of that is sustainability. You know, it's not sustainable to eat a carnivore diet for the rest of your life. You know, you could get on the carnivore diet and you could probably lose a bunch of weight and probably feel great, and you can rant about it on social media that this is the best thing to do. But are you going to do this for the rest of your life? Probably not. So what I think is a reasonable approach that everybody can do, that's sustainable, that is sensible, is eat real whole foods. And you know, it's like, this is back to basics, right? This is like, you know, what our grandparents sort of were doing before the food, you know, the processed and packaged goods company came into our lives, right? They were eating real whole food. And what does that look like? It's just, as I said, it's meat, it's fish, it's poultry, it's nuts and seeds, it's fruits and vegetables, minimally processed, and it just makes sense that we do that. Like, we're so inundated with processed food and packaged goods and fast food restaurants, and it's, you know, it's even going out to a fast food restaurant. I realize you guys are busy, right? You didn't pack your lunch. What are you eating today for lunch? Where are you going? So you think, what's a healthy choice? What can I eat that's healthy? Okay, so I'm going to go to Subway. I'm going to go to Subway and I'm going to get 6-inch grilled chicken on multigrain. Okay, so that would be like probably the best case scenario, right? You could get your combos on your white bread or your Italian or whatever. And you think you're okay, right? It's grilled chicken and it's on whole wheat bread. That sounds pretty good, right? And then I thought to myself, let's see what these ingredients look like in this grilled chicken sandwich on whole wheat bread. And what do we have here? So grilled chicken, you would think would just be grilled chicken, right? No. Now, appreciate that it has spices on it, so that's great. But what do we have here? We've got soy protein concentrate, pea fiber, sodium phosphate, sugar, canola oil, and that's just in the grilled chicken. If I went into the cold cut combo meats, you'd die. And then you look at the breads and you think, even the multigrain bread, sugar, soybean oil, there's a bunch of stuff here, amylase, glucose oxidase, phospholipase, I don't know, I can't pronounce any of these, but that's just an example of, you think you're doing yourself good and you're not really. So.
Wow. So what about things that are in the cans? Canned veggies, canned fruits, canned fish like tuna, salmon, all that stuff.
Yeah. So many years ago, you might be familiar with BPAs. BPAs were the nasty liners that they put in cans, and then they realized down the road that they're not healthy for you, right? So about 95% of the BPAs have been eliminated, so they're not using that anymore. That's fine. I'm fine with canned goods as long as canned vegetables, fine, packed in water, great. Canned fruit, okay, packed in water, fine. No sugar. Don't have the sugar in the canned fruit. So you want to you want to be reading the labels. You want to be reading the ingredients. You don't want preservatives. You don't want the sugar. Canned fish, fine too. I buy canned fish. We eat tuna. A lot of people will spend the extra money and buy the solid white albacore tuna. I buy the light tuna. It's kind of browny looking, and it's just less. There's less mercury in smaller fish. So it's the devil's always in the detail with some of these things. And it's cheaper to buy the light tuna versus the solid white albacore that's $5 a can. Yeah.
What about things like refined carbs? Like white bread, white rice, pasta, white flour, chips, cake.
Chips, I know, yeah. So you definitely want to stay away from the refined carbs as well. They're inflammatory. They're not good. They're not good for your health. And it's the devil's in the refining process, right? So you take wheat, for example, and wheat is comprised of the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. And when they refine it, they're removing all the good stuff. They're removing the fiber and the nutrients that you're going to find in the husk and in the bran, and they're leaving you with just the endosperm, which is less nutritious. So what do they do to compensate? They enrich it. So you see enriched flour on your label of the breads that you're buying. It's enriched with vitamins because they've removed the vitamins. So you really want to stay away from the refined stuff. Better options, brown rice, whole wheat, which is like the whole wheat, as opposed to just the portions, what's been removed. Barley, whole oats, quinoa, those are all whole grains that are much better for you than the refined stuff that's going to cause inflammation and weight gain and problems for your health.
So in this industry, we were joking on the way in because they really demonize certain things in the space. I know you're going to use some good words here that they sound like you're going to hell if you use these. And so, but it's funny because the people who are really passionate about what goes into our food are really, really passionate about it. And so I'm gonna talk about bad oils. So oils that you might cook with, oils you might find in product. What do you call that list of oils that you don't want to consume?
Well, they've been called the Sinister Six or the Hateful Eight. They're oils that you want to stay away from, and so I can tell you what they are: the Sinister Six or the Hateful Eight.
I have the Hateful Eight here. I like
Hateful
that.
Eight, yeah. Sinister Six is easier because there's only 6 of them, but there's a couple others that we want to bucket into those. So the C oils: corn, cottonseed, canola. We want to stay away from those oils. The S oils: sunflower, safflower, soybean. Bad oils. And the other 2, which don't have any C's or S's, are grapeseed oil and bran oil, which you don't see a ton of it, but it is out there.
So why don't you want to consume these oils, or try not to have very much of them?
Yeah, because they're highly inflammatory. They disrupt our metabolism, and they're very highly refined. Like, think about, I don't even know what a cottonseed looks like, but I can't imagine it's really easy to get the oil out of it. You know what I mean? Like what they have to do to get the oil out of these products is huge refining, and it's deodorizing, and they just bastardize something that may have been good at one point, and turn it into this oil that's really, really not good for our health. And the other issue with these oils is that they oxidize very quickly. So they oxidize through interaction with light, interaction with heat, and light, heat, and air. So just being exposed to air. So they oxidize, they turn rancid, and we're eating these oils, and it's not good. It's not good for us. So I would say stay away from the hateful eight or the Sinister Six. And so what are we left with, I guess, is the question, right? Okay, so I can't use my canola oil, I can't use my sunflower oil, or my all the oils that most people are using these days, right? And I was that person too. I was buying the canola oil thinking, this is heart healthy and this is good for me, and it's not. So what do we buy now? What do we use? We use, you really only need two things. We use avocado oil and we use olive oil. And you can use different, obviously the best olive oil is going to be your extra virgin olive oil, single sourced, so that they're not combining olive oil from Spain and Italy and Greece and blah, blah, blah. It's just helps with the traceability of the fact that it is actually extra virgin olive oil, because there's bastardized olive oil on the market that, they'll take like a shitty oil and they'll put some couple drops of chlorophyll in it. Looks like olive oil, but it's not olive oil. So I don't think you need anything more than those two oils. I wouldn't deep fry with extra virgin olive oil. In fact, I wouldn't deep fry at all, but I would use the avocado oil if I was pan sauteing something. I like coconut oil, but again, coconut oil can be highly refined. And if it's not highly refined, you're going to have a really coconut taste to it, right? So, if you like that and you want your food to taste like coconut all the time, then great. But that's my take on it. But I like butter, ghee. Ghee's great for frying. There's it's not about the saturated fat. It's about the rancidity of these oils and what it's doing to our bodies. These oils, they've found these oils to be accumulated in our own fat. So we literally are what we eat. You know what I mean? Like we have these bad omega-6 oils accumulating in our body, and they're hard to get rid of. So I'm here to advocate to stop using those oils. Yeah.
Nobody's headed for the door yet screaming, so this is good. So this has been an education for me too, since you started on this quest, because I'm thinking like all the things that she's talking about are questions that have been answered to me 400 times. And so it's stuff that you think, okay, well that kind of makes sense when you really think about it. And we're attached to stuff that we've been accustomed to for years and years and years. And so you just assume that it's all okay. And when you look at the evidence and you come home with journals and all kinds of stuff and you think, okay, so there are choices. Isn't it expensive though to make these choices, or what do you think? And we'll get into more stuff, but sometimes you kind of think, if I buy like organics and things like that, I'm going to pay more than if I don't. Can you find good value in making changes still?
So do you want to talk about organics? We can talk. I mean, we can talk about the financial aspect. I say, you're going to be buying what you can afford, and people spend a lot of money on $5 Starbucks coffees, right? Why are you balking at spending $5 on a pint of organic raspberries when you're spending $5 on a coffee? So it's just about, I think it's about prioritizing. And I'm not saying you have to buy everything organic. We don't buy everything organic, but I think there's certain things that you should buy organic.
I don't want to steal your thunder. I just wanted to sort of segue into the next, sugar is bad. And why would you reduce sugar, and why would you reduce sugar substitutes? Again, something discovered recently. So you may have followed me or seen. I went through and did a fridge purge a couple months ago, and my goal on the fridge purge was to eliminate sugar in the fridge, because it's there, you're going to eat it. That's how I see it. So I must have filled up a garbage bag. I'm a big, I like condiments, 5 different kinds of mustards and 3 types of ketchups. And our fridge is loaded with condiments. And I just realized that, you know what, if it's there, we're going to use it, so let's just get rid of it. So sadly, I threw out the barbecue sauces. And the sugar was in everything, and it was even in stuff that I didn't even think it was going to be in, like sugar in some of the mustards that we were buying. And it's bad. Sugar's, if we're going to talk about things that we need to change in our diet,
sugar needs to be addressed as well. And we also need to address artificial sweeteners, because those are even worse than having sugar. You're better off having sugar than you are to have the aspartame and the sucralose and those types of things. There are 0-calorie sweeteners out there, like stevia, and monk fruit is also a good alternative. One of the issues with sugar is that it's spiking your blood sugar, and spiking your blood sugar is going to lead to insulin resistance down the road, and that insulin resistance turns down into diabetes, and you don't want to go there. So I think sugar is definitely one of those things you want to eliminate. And people will say, some sugars are better than other sugars, and it's true. So of course there's going to be nutritional value in honey, for example, or maple syrup, for example. There's and so it's a spectrum, really. There's no nutritional value in white sugar. There's no nutritional value in corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. There's stuff in between that's sort of okay. The agave is less processed, but if you're going to have sugar, have honey, have maple syrup, have stuff that's real, not the cane sugar that's produced from beets and bleached and turned into a white powder.
Wow. There was something else about stevia, because stevia has come out with being the actual perfect sweetener, and then you realize that your body thinks it's getting sugar, so it reacts to it the same way anyway, so you may as well just have the real thing.
Well, and the other thing is that, so I've stopped. I used to be I still don't think stevia is a bad thing. Like it's like I said, it's a spectrum. So I've cut the stevia out as well, and I've cut it out because it's rewarding that pleasure center in your brain, and it's keeping the cravings for the sugar going. So if you want to stop those sugar cravings, you really just need to cut out even the artificial, the stevias and the monk fruits would be my suggestion.
So we're going through a bunch of categories here, and so the next one is water. Everyone says you need to drink lots of water.
How much? How
much water? What kind of water? There's different waters.
Yeah. So 3 liters a day. You can do 2 liters a day, just in plain good quality water. 1 of the liters you're probably going to get from the food that you're eating anyways. My personal preference, and I think reverse osmosis is the way to go. The bottled water that we're all guilty of buying. Sorry, we are too. We've got a case of bottled water somewhere in the house. It's beyond it not being good for the environment. You get the plastics, and you don't know where that water's been sitting. Has it been sitting in the heat? Are the plastics leaching into the water? Like it's not, and you don't even know the source of the water that's in there, right? Is it beside a farmer's field that's been sprayed with pesticides? Is it high up in the mountains where it's clean? So there's, you have to think about the water that you're drinking too, and water is important to us. And if you're drinking lots of water, drink decent water.
The reverse osmosis systems are fairly inexpensive. They're under the counter units, and you can just get basically removes all the
removes all the toxins in the water and the chemicals.
What next? Oh wait, I get to talk about organic food, and so there's so much out there about organics, and so this is probably going to take a bit of time for you to address. But why don't you just dive right in?
Okay, so. I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in organics, and we'll talk about this in more detail. But think of organics like your grandma and grandpa's garden. They tilled it by hand, they weeded it by hand, they repurposed seeds from previous harvests, like tomato seeds, and replanted those the next year. They loved what they were doing, and they respected the environment, and that's really what organics is all about. Like as part of my courses, when I was at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, we'd go around to organic farms, and we'd see how they operate. And it's a labor of love. People are really passionate about, growing stuff and being respectful to the environment. And it sounds like a romantic story, but there's people out there that do it. So I believe in those people. I support those people. I don't think that you need, to do everything organic. You don't. There's a group out there called the Environmental Working Group, and every year they come out with, they call it, again, we get all these crazy terms, the dirty dozen, and the clean 15. So, and what they do basically is they're testing fruits and vegetables for pesticide residue. And then they rank these fruits and vegetables by the best and by the worst. And I guess everything in between, you can figure that out. So we can talk. So let's talk about the worst. Let's talk about the stuff that if you're going to buy it, you should buy organics. So, and I have to read these because I haven't memorized the dirty dozen. Strawberries, spinach, kale, collard, and mustard greens, grapes, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, bell peppers, and hot peppers, blueberries, cherries, and green beans, in that order. So those are the dirty dozen, and the clean 15 would be stuff.
Before you do that,
yeah,
the environmental working groups for the dirty dozen, they're saying 95% of all this produce tested contain pesticides.
Tested positive for pesticide residue. Yeah.
Wow.
So these tend to be the thinner skin fruits, right? That, like, you're not peeling your strawberries, and you're not, so you're going to get it when you're eating it. So, what can you do? Let's say you don't want to buy organics, or it's not available, or sometimes the organic produce looks shitty, right? It's probably been trucked from Mexico and it's been sitting there a while, because for $9.99 for a dozen strawberries, it's expensive to buy that, right? So what do you do? First and foremost, you need to wash. You need to wash everything. And you even need to wash your organics, because you'd be surprised how much dirt and like little bugs and stuff are there. So washing's number one. Better is soaking your stuff. So if you've got stuff that is high in pesticide residue, soak it in a solution of salt. You can do like a 10% salt solution. You can do a thing of water, and you can put a spoon of sea salt in it. You can put a spoon of baking soda in it, and soak it, and agitate it around a little bit, rinse it all off, and you're good to go. That will reduce most of the pesticides.
And so I just want to look back to my notes on that. Coffee, tea, wheat, oats, and barley. All those were kind of lumped into something too, but they didn't make the top 12.
Well, because the Environmental Working Group doesn't, they don't test everything. They're a non-profit organization. So I would say, coffee is a heavily sprayed crop. Tea is also a heavily sprayed crop. And your wheat and your oats and your barley are also heavily sprayed. So you would probably want to consider buying those in organic as well, because I don't know how you're washing or soaking your coffee, right? You're not.
So something that you didn't have on the list here, but I'm going to mention it anyway. How is it different when you buy product that's sourced and made and produced from Europe, let's say? Take Italy. Versus North America. So without getting into the whole GMO thing, genetically modified organisms, they grow stuff differently. And I can tell you firsthand, every time we've been to Europe, the food is different there. They don't spray with the same pesticides that we use here. They have different rules. I think they have a stricter standard, and it's reflective in the quality of the food that they produce. Interesting. I thought like I didn't know that until recently too.
Right.
And so it's amazing.
A lot of people will have food intolerances to, the pasta that's grown here through pasta through the wheat that's grown here, but then they'll go to Italy and they'll try the pasta and it's great and everything's fine and they have no issues. So there's differences there. I don't have the definitive answer for it, but they do things differently.
Yeah, they're just stricter protocols with how they grow stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to change gears now. Supplements. Jeff and I were just talking about, the cocktail of things that you might take, and so why don't you, if somebody is taking supplements or isn't taking supplements, where do they begin? What are the basic supplements that they should be thinking about, and that sort of stuff here?
So, I think supplements are just that. Supplements are stuff that you take that. There's a couple of reasons you would take supplements, but you're not going to take it to make up for a poor diet, right? It doesn't work like that. Nature made the foods to be easily absorbed and into our bodies, and supplements sometimes are not. So I would never say you can supplement yourself out of a poor diet because that's just not the reality. I would say supplements are great because certain medications deplete nutrients in your body. So, for example, you've got a backache or a headache and you're taking a lot of Tylenol. It's going to increase your need for something called glutathione. You can take a glutathione supplement, sure, but you can also eat fruits and vegetables that are high in glutathione, like cruciferous vegetables, your cabbages and your broccolis and your cauliflowers. Antibiotics, I would say, if you're on a course of antibiotics, and I was back in December, I had an abscess, and I did 3 rounds of antibiotics, which is horrible because I haven't been on antibiotics in, honestly, like maybe 30 years or something like that. So you need probiotics to repopulate your good gut bacteria when you've been on a course of antibiotics. So I think that's super important. Things like statins, people are on statin drugs to reduce their cholesterol. It really increases your need for CoQ10. Where do you get CoQ10 from naturally? Well, you can get it from organ meat, from liver, from fatty fish. Do people really want to eat organ meat, liver, and fatty fish all the time? Probably not. So you would take a CoQ10 supplement.
What about, so if you're not taking a probiotic, what sort of foods would you consume?
So if you don't want to take a probiotic, which is perfectly fine, when you're on a course of antibiotics, I would start eating a lot of probiotic-rich foods. So I would be eating, sauerkraut or kimchi or kombucha or miso. There's lots of foods that have natural probiotics in them. And the easiest way, because you're probably thinking, what the heck's a kimchi or what's a miso? The easiest thing you can do is buy fermented pickles, fermented dill pickles. And you know that they're fermented because when you read the label, there's no vinegar in them. You find them in the grocery section, in the cold section of the grocery store, or sauerkraut's another great example. So not your Bix, but the stuff that you would find in the cold section it'll have salt in it. It should just be sauerkraut, salt, cabbage, right, Oliver? Salt, cabbage. No, right. So no vinegar, no calcium chlorides, no preservatives, no nothing in it. Just simple stuff, and that's natural probiotics. So that's repopulating your good gut bacteria when the antibiotic wipes it all out.
What about yogurt?
Yogurt. Oh, I forgot about yogurt.
Forget about yogurt.
Yes, yogurt's a great example. But again, you want to have the unsweetened yogurt, right? Because the sugar is bad for your gut and it suppresses your immune system. So you want to always do the unsweetened yogurt. If you like Greek yogurt, great. If you like the Balkan style, all good.
So we covered like Tylenol, antibiotics, statins. What about SSRI? What does that stand for?
Those are antidepressant medications, and they increase your need for melatonin and sodium. So, how do we increase our melatonin? Sleep in the dark. Shut off your devices at night, and your body naturally makes melatonin. Insulin. taking insulin. Increases your need for magnesium. We can get magnesium through pumpkin seeds, through chia seeds, and various seeds like that. So you don't always have to take a supplement. You can supplement for these things, but there's always a workaround, which is eating the food that's rich in these sources.
And I think there was one more, ACE inhibitor, blood pressure.
Oh yes, ACE inhibitor. Increases your need for zinc. So where do we find zinc? In oysters, red meat, and poultry, that kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. So what's the next thing? Basic supplements. That if you took a cross-section of the world, what are the basic supplements people should be taking on a regular basis?
So in North America, we seem to have deficiencies in calcium and magnesium, and in vitamins A, C, E, and D. So as a basic supplement, I would start with, I think vitamin D is super important. Sadly, we spend 90% of our lives indoors. We don't get the vitamin D from the sun because it's winter time, it's fall, it's spring, and your body's just not manufacturing vitamin D from the little amount of sun that we get. Sure, if you're sitting in the summertime and you sit outside for 20 minutes in the sun, hopefully you're not burning. You're not wearing sunscreen because sunscreen is preventing your body from making vitamin D. You're probably okay in the summertime, but I would say the rest of the year, consider taking a vitamin D supplement. I like vitamin D, it has to be D3, and I like it with a vitamin called K2. And the K2 basically just helps put the vitamin D into your bones. So that would be my recommendation for everybody across the board to be taking vitamin D. I also am a big believer in fish oils. I think they're super good for us. We get because they're the omega-3 oils that our body can't produce, right? That's why they're called essential. We get so much omega-6 oils from all the crappy seed oils that we're eating that we have such little omega-3 in our body that I think it's great to supplement with. It's anti-inflammatory. It's good for your brain. It's good for your heart. It's phenomenal, and you can get that. It doesn't have to be fish oil. I can tell you that the fish oil that I take does not taste like fish. You're not regurgitating fish or burping fish, or there's absolutely zero. It's so molecularly distilled that there's no fish odor or taste to it. So don't be afraid of fish oils. If you are, you can take flaxseed oil as an alternative for omega-3.
You mentioned a multivite.
Yeah, I think a good multiple vitamin is it's a good all-round way to supplement for all the micronutrients that you may be missing. Multiple vitamin is like table stakes for taking supplements, I think.
Before we go on to some of the other ones, what's the difference? So when you go into a grocery store or you go into a health food store, you see completely different brands. You see, grocery store aisles, I forget the name of them. It's a green, white, and red label. They've got walls of it in every store. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other things, that some of the products you see in the health food stores and the products that you represent. What's the difference between the two, and why does one cost $1 and the other one costs $3?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's the obviously supplements are very much, and I won't say this about all things, but supplements are really, you get what you pay for in supplements. So when you go into the dollar store and you see brands of vitamins for $3, don't even waste your $3, because you're not getting a vitamin that's of good quality. You're getting an inferior version of the vitamin that your body doesn't recognize, that your body's not going to absorb, that could be perhaps full of fillers, preservatives, colors. I mean, you really want to stay clear of that stuff, and that goes without saying. Like that, those are the Kirkland brand. Stay away from that. The Centrums, the Jamesons, the stuff you'd find in Shoppers Drug Mart or Costco are not good quality options.
What are brands that professionals represent?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't represent a ton. There's lots of great professional brands out there. I don't represent everything, and I'm not saying that my list is the definitive list, but I like brands like Genestra, Pure Encapsulation, Cytomatrix, NFH, that kind of thing. Those are the brands, and I spent a lot of time when I was setting up my nutrition dispensary to vet companies for these brands, because I can't carry everything, and I want to know about that company. I want to know a lot about that company before I'm willing to put my name behind selling their products. So these are all good companies. The issue is it's an unregulated industry. So you really need to be careful who you're buying from, because there's no big brother out there that's making sure of the efficacy and the quality of the products that you're purchasing. So
It's funny, before you got into this space, we would see a naturopath in Milton, Michael Adams, and all his brands are completely like nothing you would ever see in a grocery store. And it's funny, and I think when I look at what's on your site, it's very similar to the stuff that he stocks. And
that's not a coincidence.
No, I guess not.
It's not a coincidence, and we have been seeing, Alex and I have been seeing a naturopath for, I want to say, over 20 years, right? We've been seeing this guy for over 20 years. And he was probably what inspired me to take up this interest in nutrition, because, you'd go see the naturopath and he would say, yeah, you got an imbalance here, an imbalance there, and start taking this, that, and the other supplements. But has he ever said to you, has he ever said to you, no, I think you should start eating more fish, or I think you should start eating more fruits and vegetables? Like, that wasn't really his bailiwick, right?
That's his assumption. So, he just, like, they bought a farm that we had listed in Milton, Burlington, and they grow their own organics on it now for their friends and family. And so this family practices what they preach 100%. But I found it fascinating because he talks about things. It's almost like witchery. They talk about well, you need vitamin D, but you need K because that helps your body absorb it. So you get a vitamin D with K2, and you're like, how come I never heard any of this stuff before? And that's just one little example. What about probiotics? I'm looking here at the list. There's a couple more things, but probiotics and gut health is a whole day of learning. But is there a little?
I could spend probably an hour talking about gut health. Just know this: 70 to 80% of your immune system resides in your gut. Like think about that. So really, gut health is synonymous with good immunity. So you wanna protect your gut. It's not just taking probiotic supplements, but it's the good food that you're eating. It's staying away from the refined seed oils and the bad vegetable oils. It's doing things like broths. I'm a big believer in bone broth, and it sounds sort of hokey, like drinking bone broth, really, but it's the simplest thing in the world. Like you got a crock pot, you go to the grocery store, you buy the bones that they're selling for $2 a pack. I can make an entire pot of broth for under $10, and Alex and I would just sip on it. And it's so good for your immunity. It's so good for your gut. It's strengthening that mucosal barrier that is your gut integrity from keeping the pathogens that we're eating and breathing and stuff from entering into your bloodstream and making you sick. So that's an easy win right there.
So the next one on the list is magnesium.
Magnesium.
Why as some of the basic supplements people should be taking?
I like. And again, it's back to it's always the devil's in the detail, right? There's, you go to the Shoppers Drug Mart and you look at the magnesium, and there's magnesium malate, and there's magnesium this version and that version. Which magnesium do I need? Well, it depends on what you're trying to address, right? If sleep is your issue, then I would go with a magnesium a threonate or a magnesium bisglycinate. If you have an issue with constipation, well, that's a whole other magnesium you're taking, and you don't want to take too much of that, right? So, back to devil's in the details with all of this stuff, and you really need to know what you're taking. Don't just run out there and start willy-nilly taking stuff because you think the more is better, because more is not necessarily better. And we don't, like Alex and I, we don't take as much as I have 500 products on my website. We don't take 500 supplements. We pick and choose, and we're careful about what we take, and we take the basics because I try and promote the idea that we eat healthy and we don't need to take 1,000 supplements because we're getting all our nutrients through our food.
Okay, so we're just about running out of time. Two things. Little known health bites.
Oh yes,
the
Bytes.
takeaways. There's lots of takeaways here. Would you agree, guys?
Yeah. So let me first say, before you cut me off here, so the top, I'm going to say, so just to recap, the top 3 things you can be doing today, starting now, to improve your nutrition is reducing. I would love to sit here and say eliminate, but is eliminate really? Is that going to resonate, and is that really going to work? Because do I eliminate everything? I try really hard, I really do try, but let's start with reducing. So let's reduce our sugar and our artificial sugars. Let's reduce our seed oils, and those would include the bad vegetable oils that we were talking about, the canolas and the safflowers and whatnot. And let's reduce the processed food, because by just eliminating the processed food, you are reducing the sugars and the bad oils. So that's what I would say as the 3 takeaways. If you were to learn anything today, I would start with those guys. Back to your health bites. Your doctor won't tell you this, but if you're on a course of antibiotics, and we've talked about this, think about taking probiotics, or think about taking or eating foods that are high in probiotics during your course of antibiotics or after your course of antibiotics. You want to repopulate that good gut bacteria that the antibiotics wiped out, because the antibiotic is wiping out everything. It's wiping out the bad, which is what we want, but it's also wiping out the good. Don't eat when you're stressed.
I would never eat.
But
It's easy.
when you're stressed, your body's releasing hormones like epinephrine, and that is it's suppressing your digestion. So you should really consider not eating when you're stressed out, because you're not going to digest very well, and you're going to feel bad and bloated, and and that's not going to be great for you. What else is interesting? Oh, this you probably don't know. Put your mushrooms in the sunshine for 1 to 2 hours. It dramatically increases the vitamin D in the mushroom, which, like, who knew that, right? So, you buy your white mushrooms from the grocery store, just pop them on your deck or in the sun, whatever, and you're going to have lots more vitamin D in those mushrooms.
Well, what are those 2 mushrooms you mentioned here?
I'm a big believer in mushrooms, and not so much in those white button mushrooms, but in all those exotic sort of mushrooms. I think they have crazy good health benefits. They're called superfoods for a reason. Things like chaga or lion's mane or turkey tail. Those are mushrooms that they have incredible properties, and actually one of the supplements that I do take is a mushroom extract. So, I don't take a multivitamin because I eat really well, but I do take a mushroom extract because I really think it's good for strengthening your immune system, and your immune system is your first line of defense. So you want to make sure that your armed forces are strong with you.
I see about water, about drinking with your meal. There's a myth there.
Yeah, there is a myth there that says if you drink water with your meal, it's going to affect your digestion, that is a myth. There's no validity to drinking water with your meal. It's going to dilute down your gastric juices, and you're not going to be able to digest properly. Your stomach is a completely acidic environment, and you'd have to drink like 50 gallons of water to dilute those gastric juices down to the point where you weren't digesting. So you don't need to worry about consuming water with your meal. Drink plenty of it. It's great for you.
Is there anything else you want to
What else do I want to add? If you're trying to lose weight, don't drink your meal. And when I say don't drink your meal, I'm talking about the protein smoothies that you're blending up, because it's going to digest quickly and you're going to be hungry really fast. And you've consumed probably 400 calories in that protein drink once you put your yogurt in there and once you put your protein powder and your fruits and stuff like that, and you're going to be hungry. So I would always advocate for eating eating the whole fruit, and you're getting the fiber, and it's slowing down the sugar absorption, it's slowing down your digestion.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for doing this today. We've got a great group of people. They're all quiet, listening and staying and all this stuff.
Even Steve.
Even Steve. So no, thank you for spending the time to deliver this to everybody. I'll open it for questions if anyone has some, and if you just want to hang out for a bit.
Yeah.
I drove, so she's not going anywhere.
And I'd love to know. So I noodled over this for a while. So Alex he's been talking about me coming and having this chat for a while. It kind of worked out well because, during your kickoff, you introduced a health and wellness component, and I fit really nicely into that. But I'd really love to hear directionally, if you want me to come again, what should I be speaking about? Are you interested in gut health and immunity? I can spend an hour talking about that. Are you interested in toxicity in the environment and how we can reduce toxins in our life? That's a whole, I could talk a whole hour about that and the things that we can do to reduce exposures and stuff like that. So throw it out there if you're interested in something, and I can certainly speak to it, because what we learned in the holistic nutrition courses is that it isn't just about the food. It's about your environment. It's about your sleep. It's about your stress. It's about how you socialize with people and the happiness in your life and that kind of thing. So we can touch on all of those elements are all going to contribute to our overall well-being.
Great. There's going to be, we've recorded this and we'll circulate it to everyone, of course. And I think you had some notes too that we were probably going to attach to it.
Yeah, there's probably some stuff that we skipped over here.
Yeah.
We did skip over talking about protein intakes, which is important. So there was a couple of things, but we'll include that in the notes so that everyone has the full version. Oliver has a question.
You started off by saying you hate that word diet.
Diet.
That's a really important thing because it's mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
I think we need to eliminate that word diet because
I know.
It's not helpful because it means it's temporary. It feels like you're on a diet. You're on a diet.
And it feels like you've failed if you don't stick with it, and they're hard to stick with.
You feel like you're doing something that is not normal, like when you're saying that word. I don't know. That's kind of what I feel.
Yeah. Temporary. Let's just eat real whole foods and chalk it up to that, right? It's a lifestyle.
And I was just going to say, just from personal story, I've been in real estate way too long. And I can tell you that I've never been in a brokerage that does this. So good on you. Good on you, Alex. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, it's really been my pleasure to be here, and it's a passion of mine. And I'm glad you all came out, and I can educate and empower and hopefully motivate you to make just small changes, right?
Awesome. Thank you.
I think there's another couple questions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Water. You mentioned it's very important to drink water.
Yep.
Is alkaline water the greatest water that we should be drinking, or?
It's expensive, right? Alkaline water is expensive, and if you want to spend money on alkaline water, absolutely go for it. You don't have to. I think hydration is the concept of hydration is the key. How you do it, whether it's through alkaline water or reverse osmosis. I think most people are probably not drinking enough water. Like who's drinking 2 liters or 3 liters of water a day? Yeah. Okay. So a couple people. That's good. But I bet you most people are not. And I bet you a lot of people are drinking the bottled water over there, right? So we can. That's an easy thing to eliminate. You get yourself a container, preferably metal or glass, not plastic, and you fill up at home and you drink that throughout the day. It's easy peasy.
So in terms of the fact So which one would you recommend buying?
I would, for a probiotic, I would buy a multi-strain probiotic, and most of them will have various strains of probiotics in them, the lactobacillus and there's different ones. There's also good probiotics that you can take if you're traveling, because you're in another country, you're drinking the water, whether it's inadvertent or not, they're washing the fruits and vegetables and stuff in that water. There's strains that specifically work very well for travelers' issues, like traveler diarrhea or whatever. There's great strains. Saccharomyces boulardii would.
Cold versus that have to be kept cool versus.
Yeah, I have both. I take both. I was a little suspect about the ones that were shelf stable, but like the brand that I take is Genestra, and they were always refrigerated, and then they came out with a shelf stable version, and that's great for traveling because then you don't have to worry about keeping them in the cold. But I think that they've figured out how that they can manufacture them so that they don't degrade in being outside the cold. So I think either works.
In terms of supplements, when do you advise us to take it? Like, so if you're taking certain, medications in the morning, just so that they don't interfere, what is the best time to take, like, your multivitamins?
I would never take a multivitamin on an empty stomach. It's disastrous. You'll feel so terrible. I would always recommend taking. Now, I don't know what particular medications you're taking, but I would always take my supplements with food because they're going to be better absorbed with the combination of food that you're taking. And whether you keep that away from the medications you're taking, I don't know. It would be very specific to the type of medication that you're taking, right? If you're taking, for example, if you're taking an antibiotic, you don't want to take the probiotic with the antibiotic. You want to space that out by a few hours, or finish your course of antibiotics and then get on a week of probiotics. So something like that. So it's dependent on what you're taking. I think
that's it.
We're wrapped up. I'm always around, right? And if I'm not around, you'll have my email address or whatever. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. And no question is a bad question.
You have your Instagram page. People could follow.
I have. Yeah, you can follow me. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And you can scope out my website for more information as well. I do blogs on there, so there's all sorts of interesting blogs on different topics.
Can I ask which omega-3 that you take that doesn't make you taste like fish to you?
Yeah, you know what? I take a liquid. It's the brand is called Cytomatrix, and no, I get it through I can get it through my supplier. It's a small bottle, and it comes with D vitamin in it as well. So you've kind of covered off both your fish oil and your vitamin D. And I have taken many fish oils, both capsules and liquids, that regurgitate, and it's terrible. So this one works for me. You can certainly try it and see if it works for you too. But that's the one I recommend.
And I think that's it for now.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.